back on the record here in Fremont County, Idaho. It's the 3rd of August, 2020. It's just after 1 o'clock. CR 2220-755, State versus Daybell, excuse me. We will continue forward. We're in the middle of the witness, Detective Hermosillo. The cross-examination of Detective had just completed. We're to the redirect. We'll have Detective Hermosillo come back to the witness stand. He's still under oath.
Your Honor, the state has no further questions for Detective Hermosillo.
Okay. Detective Hermosillo, you don't need to come back up here then. Next witness, Mr. Wood.
The state calls Ron Ball.
Detective Ball, if you'll stand here in front of the plexiglass at the witness stand and raise your right arm, face the clerk.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Detective Ball, we'll have you sit right here at the witness stand. Once you've been seated, you can remove your mask. Detective Ball, if you'll pull that microphone up and aim it up towards your chin.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
Pull it down just a little bit. There you go. Mr. Wood, you may inquire when you're ready.
Thank you. Will you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Ron Ball, B-A-L-L.
Where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed at the Rexburg Police Department.
How long have you been employed there?
I've been employed there for a little over 28 years.
What is your current title?
My current title is I'm the Lieutenant over Investigations.
Okay. Have you completed the post academy?
I have. I hold a basic, intermediate, advanced, and a management certificate. Also, I am a graduate from the FBI National Academy 2015.
Okay. Detective, for your work at the Rexburg Police Department, were you involved in the investigation of the disappearance of J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
Detective, were you present at Chad Daybell's residence on June 9th of 2019?
I was.
Okay, what were you there for?
We were there to conduct a search warrant at that residence.
Okay. Are you aware what, if anything, was discovered on his property?
I am.
What was it?
The remains of 2 bodies.
Okay. Do you know if those remains were sent to the Ada County Coroner's Office?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I was personally involved in taking them to Ada County.
Okay.
Yeah, Ada County Coroner's Office.
Okay. What day did you take those to the coroner's office?
We took the remains to the coroner's office on June 10th.
Of what year?
Of this year.
Okay, so 2020?
Yep.
Did you continue to work on this case on June 12th of
Correct.
2020? What did you do that day?
On that particular day, myself, Detective Ray Hermosillo, Detective Kakamanu from the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, and Fremont County Coroner Brenda Dye went back to the Ada County Coroner's Office, where we received and took in evidence that was the state lab had, or the coroner's office had retrieved from the bodies.
Okay. Were you involved in actually loading said evidence into the coroner's truck that day?
Yes.
Were you able to personally observe the evidence and or the packaging it was in?
Yes.
Do you know who was in the coroner's truck?
The driver of the vehicle, of the coroner's truck, was Detective Kakamanu with Fremont County Sheriff's Office, and then Fremont County Coroner Brenda Dye was a passenger in the vehicle.
Okay. And where were you during the transportation of the evidence?
Myself and Detective Hermosillo were in another vehicle, traveling with them.
And did you ever lose sight of the coroner's truck?
No.
Did the coroner's truck ever stop prior to arriving at the state lab?
It may have stopped at some traffic lights, but that would have been the only stops.
Okay. Once you arrived at the state lab, what did you do?
Once we arrived at the state lab, we met with somebody outside, a representative from the state lab. We then took the property out of the back of the vehicle and then walked it inside the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory.
Okay. So were you personally involved in moving the property from the coroner's truck to the state lab?
Yes.
Were you able then to view the evidence and or the packaging it was in?
I did.
Was it in the same condition it was in when you loaded it into the coroner's truck from the Ada County Coroner's Office?
Yes.
Do you know generally the evidence you were involved in transporting?
It was quite a bit of biological evidence. There was some garbage bags. There was some duct tape. Quite a bit of it was biological samplings.
And when you say biological evidence, what do you mean by that?
Swabs. There were fingernail clippings, fingernail swabs, and those type of things.
Okay.
Be sure to speak up.
Excuse me?
Be sure to speak up.
Okay.
Once the evidence was taken into the state lab, what, if anything, did you do?
Once the evidence was placed in the state lab, or taken inside the state lab, I then went to a location with one of the property management people there. That evidence hadn't been checked into the Rexburg Police Department yet because I had just received it when we were still in Boise. So I had to sit down. I had to get my office on the phone. I talked to Sergeant Colette Davison with the Rexburg Police Department. I went piece by piece of it and described to her what that piece was, and she then entered it into the computer system back home, or back in Rexburg, and it was assigned a number. And then once I had that number, I then gave that to the representative from the Idaho Forensic Laboratory, and they then took custody of it.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 11.
You've marked that, Mr. Wood?
I have. Judge, can we approach for a minute?
You may. We're going to go back in chambers, though. I think because the plexiglass, it requires the attorneys to speak so loudly that it's really hard to keep it silent. So we can go back in chambers, which is fine.
All right.